Hello there, good evening, welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As always, I'm Steve O'Matt. It's a pleasure to welcome you back here to the channel on a Friday night for another chat about everything to do with our beloved Glasgow Celtic Football Club. Joined with me is my right-hand man, it's my bearded, bald brother, of course, it is Paddy Boy. He is back home, he's out there in his Celtic den, and I'm sure you'll be looking forward to getting about it. We weren't on this week, Paddy. Unfortunately, the midweek game against Aberdeen was rained off, even though it wasn't actually raining. It looked like a mud cake, apparently, in the goalmouth. I saw the video. I don't think it was that bad, but hey-ho, it has been delayed. And to that end, we thought, do you know what? We could jump on here and we could try and drag out a couple of shows and talk about nothing. Let's just leave it. Let's leave it to the weekend. And maybe, Paddy, we've actually worked out quite well for us because there seems to be a wee bit of things to talk about. Of course, there looks like there's the incoming of a vastly experienced, vastly talented midfielder that we'll talk about. There's, of course, the game against Dundee in the Cup at the weekend. And there is also all the fan stuff that goes with that, the proposed boycott. There was obviously the statement from Mr. Wilson that came out via Celtic's VT. So there's actually plenty of good time to talk about, plenty of stuff, and we'll get on about it. But before, as always, just Paddy, how are you, my man?
Aye, all good, mate. Like you say, Steve, we're looking forward to the game midweek, and we've seen the referee bounce the ball in the box, and it didn't bounce, so he decided that was it. It was shoot in, call the curtains. I also heard the clip of the boy on Clyde 1, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. The Rangers fans saying that Celtic control what happens, and that they were scared of Aberdeen. They were bricking it, so they decided to get that game called off. And I think it was even one of their own, Alex Ray, who threw the stat out there and was like, Celtic haven't lost there in 44 games or something, pal. So I think you might be slightly wrong in your opinion. So I had a wee laugh about that, mate, a wee chuckle. It's always nice to fire that on to cheer yourself up. But on the other hand, Steve-o, the incoming of Mr. Oxlade-Chamberlain, like you're saying there, mate, that is, for me, a wee bit of good news. I'm quite chuffed with that. That's a good one.
Absolutely. Well, the game is what it is. And look, let's be totally honest, we're always going to get those kind of stupid comments on these sort of phone-ins and that. But let's be honest here. Let's get real, right? Midweek benefited nobody other than the baddies. It's quite as simple as that. It's factual, right? And I don't think at any point Celtic in any way, shape or form were concerned about playing an absolutely dog-meat Aberdeen. So let's get that notion put to bed. But it is what it is.
Aberdeen. Do you know what I mean?
Absolute pedigree chum. Let's crack on, right? Let's get down to business now. Like we say, we're a wee bit late. I know there's still a couple of other excellent podcasts that are maybe still on at this moment in time. As a relevant, bring yourself in the door. We're starting to see the numbers clock up now, and if you're watching on catch up, then again, thank you as always for tuning in and making us part of your Celtic listening experience. Make sure, importantly, you hit the subscribe. Look, it costs you absolutely nothing, and I can still say it. I can say it openly, which is the exact amount that we spent at the transfer window in January. Unbelievable, Jeff. But undoubtedly, even with that, and it's Snyder, and we're fed up about it, we can still say at least we did bring in some players. And, you know, when you peel back it looks as if there could potentially be a wee bit of quality here, and particularly Oxlade-Chamberlain. If he's to come in as well, then we'll start to talk about that. I'm sure it brings a lot of experience, brings a lot of talent. He is a wee bit out in the wilderness, a long time since he's played football. But, you know, class, it's permanent, you know. That's one thing that I would say there. And if he can even bring a smidgen of the Aaron Moyes or the Joe Hart's around proceedings, then it'll be a good signing, but we'll take it as we find it. So hit the subscribe, get a big thumbs up, get the like, tell people, and get us, of course, down below on all our other social media. So we'll get a few coming in, and it's good to see you all. A couple on the YouTube. We're also on their X as well. So however you choose to watch it, thanks for taking the time to join us. But Paddy, let's jump straight in about it, because after we came out, we saw that there was talk of Celtic potentially diving again, like we did with Iheanacho, into that free agent market to try and, you know, add a wee bit of quality. And one thing that we did feel that we were, well, a lot of things that were missing from that transfer window, but one was undoubtedly a class midfielder. maybe a box-to-box or an ox-to-box midfielder in this terms. And, I can say that safely about him because that is the kind of guy that you would be getting for Oxlade-Chamberlain. He's performed at the top level, as we well know. He's won the Champions League. He's well-versed, well-experienced, England Internationalist. And no doubt about it, a Welsh flair and an eye for goal. He does have a good engine. Whether he's still got that at 32 and a bit of injuries remains to be seen. But he's certainly also got a wee bit of dig and he can control midfield. And I think that when you look at the options or the lack thereof that we've got, maybe guys dropping off, if we can get this with 15 games or whatever left to go, I'm not foolish. It'll take a wee bit of time to bed them in. But even if you got 10 games out of him, time you get him up to speed and you get anywhere close to what he's got, surely to God, this is a positive signing and isn't actually the joke that some are making it out to be.
Yeah, listen, he's one of these guys, Steve, that when you look at it, he's very versatile. He can play out in the wing as well. He's one of these guys, had a bit of pace. Obviously, I've not really seen much of him in the last couple of years. He's been out, obviously, at Fenerbahce and here, there and everywhere. But listen, he's been training with the Arsenal squad as well. So apparently he's right up to fitness. He's ready to go, Martin Neill said in his interview. So that's the kind of stuff that you want to hear. And for me, he's one of the midfielders, Steve, that we've been missing in the last wee while. We've had guys, obviously, like Rio Hatate likes to sit in, likes to stay deep kind of thing. Arnie Engels kind of tries to get forward, but sometimes isn't given that opportunity. Ox is one of the guys that's going to drive forward. Do you know what I mean? He's one of these players that's going to want to drive out to the wings, drive into the box, push players forward, and hopefully comes in. He can use that experience. What is he, 32 or something?
He's 32,
he's not even over the hill, but he's got that experience of playing. Like I say, that team's like Fenerbahce, that team's like Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? He's an extremely well-versed player, we'll say. So somebody with that kind of experience for me is a massive thing with the game.
Absolutely. Let's remind ourselves, it is, as we always say, it's just stats. We're not going to lean heavy on it, but unless you've been living under a rock and you don't actually know what we're likely to get, let's have a wee look through it together. As you say, Paddy, the experience, you only need to look at the trophies. More importantly, this big one here, right? There's not many guys that have got that in there. He is 32, so he's not going to be hitting 33 till well after the season. And I understand there is, he hasn't officially signed yet, but you know that when big Romano puts out a statement and tells you it's happening, well, you can pretty much take that one to the bank. Absolute experience, 35 international caps during England for a pretty good England team. But England have always done a good team, whether you want to say it or not, right? But part of a very competitive, very talented England set up at that time. Yeah. And she says played very much bags of experience. There you see 35 international caps, 7 loads at the unders as well, and importantly as well, look at the vast amounts of experience there. Premier League 235 outings, Champions League 51, and then you say Super League in Turkey, drop it down. This guy has done pretty much everything. 443 total career appearances, club level, 53 goals and 52 assists. But it's the experience, and if anything, I'm sure that the likes of Ian Archer will be contributing that. Obviously, we know Kasper Schmeichel's doing that, but just sometimes having these kind of guys around to be under that learning tree for some of the younger players, that in itself is, you can't put a price on that, what that might bring. I'm sure that he'll be hungry. He's been training with Arsenal pretty much since he was released. I believe the last game he played was maybe June 2025. I'll tell you right now. There we are. Yes, 11th of June 2025. He got 11 minutes, and then obviously, as you can see here, he's had this injury, and then the contract was expired. But, mate, he was playing, and even when you look up to Besiktas up to 24-25, during that period he was there after leaving Liverpool, he was still playing a lot of football, mate. So there is positives to be had. Yes, it's a long layoff, and he might need to be get up to speed. But again, here's another one for you. Look at the versatility of the positions played. That is what we need right now, mate.
That's the thing, mate. And like I say, with that experience, if you think back to previous Martin Neill squads, you've always got that experience mixed in with the youth. You think back to like the 2003 squad, like the players that we brought in, we didn't go out there and buy hundreds of hungry young 21-year-olds and whatever. It was all guys who had been there and who had done it at a decent level, whether that be Premier League or abroad. Do you know what I mean? You're bringing in your guys like your Lennons, Petrov was obviously young at the time, do you know what I mean? But your Thompson, Hartson, all these kind of guys who had been about, who had that experience, who were able to pass that experience on to the kind of younger guys, and that's going to be pivotal for us going forward, I really think, because we brought in these other young guys on loan and whatever, but having a guy like him coming in, they'll know who he is. Do you know what I mean? They'll know. They'll have seen his career at one of these kind of clubs, and they'll go, "Wow, that's a player." Do you know what I mean? So if he can come in and he can pass any of that on, like you say, guys like Schmeichel's doing it, even Callum McGregor obviously does it in there. That's pivotal. That's absolutely massive for a team like us.
Yeah, absolutely. The comments that it's roundly positive. I have not really seen anything that has been negative around this proposed signing. Obviously, of course, you'll get people saying, typical Celtic, there we go, we've bounced into a free agent market. And I do get that. I 100% get it. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, on you go, Paddy. Just talk away 1 second.
Yeah, no problem. Like Steve was trying to get to there, guys, like somebody like this coming in here. I've seen in the chat there people saying that he scored at a higher level when he's scoring in the Premier League and things like that. Scottish football is a bit of a step down, so he's going to come in here and he's going to boss it. I think somebody like him coming in is just going to absolutely push on and show the Premier League what they're missing. He's going to use us as a stepping stone, let's be honest. He's coming in here and he's using us as a stepping stone to get back into either the Premier League or a bigger league. So we'll give him the 6 months, and then we've got a year's grace on the end of that as well if we want to go for that. And I think that was one of the things that was delaying him coming in, because we were only offering the 6 months, and I think him and his agent were looking for something a little longer, so that's where the year extension had been added on. That's coming from something that I read from, as Steve would say, the main man, Fabrizio Romano. So it's got to be true, hasn't it?
Yep, I definitely. Apologies there. My young daughter's been her birthday today. Happy 15th there. Sticking her head in there and giving me 1,000,001 questions. So I wasn't going to totally ignore her. So thank you very much, Paddy. But no, like as I said before, I was rudely cut off there. That it's a positive signing. Everybody's seen it. The guy's a winner. He's got pedigree. And as it says there, an injury, but nothing he's not been riddled with injuries. Sometimes you get these folk and they've been riddled with serious injuries and it puts real question marks over it. I get it. And I'll be honest with you, as Martin Neill said as well, I am highly surprised that he has been allowed to, kick about and train and be a free agent for as long as this. But if we get him in, absolutely brilliant. And I think as well, it'll give us something different. It'll give us, a bit of grit. A lot of folk are saying that. I think that's something nobody really, I say nobody, a lot of people forget about him, is that he has got a bit of fight and a bit of dig around him. And he maybe folk just look at him, he's small, he's strong, but they maybe look at his stature and don't think of him as being that type of guy. But definitely that's what he is. And then a lot of people are also looking at us and saying, it's a bit of a head scratcher though, because bringing him in, but we kept Engels. Why would we do that? Well, I'd say that's twofold. One, there is the fact he has been out of football, so there's that caution that, he might not produce. Hopefully, touch wood, that's not the case, but I can see the caution there of, just in case. But I'll say it as well, you can't have enough quality. We keep talking about needing, like for like or up in the levels. And, would you rather have Engels and Oxlade-Chamberlain or just one of them? Now, a lot of folk might say, I'll just take Oxlade-Chamberlain, but the point stands, Hatate's off the boil, he's not doing it. McCowan can't really be depended on, and Bernardo's fallen off the edge of a cliff. So this is what we need. And I think with that kind of guy in there, it frees up and maybe gives a new lease of life to Cal McGregor. It gives a new lease of life to Engels, because I always feel that Cal McGregor's often trying to do everything, and sometimes Engels gets lost in the shuffle. You've got a guy who's definitively box to box, puts in the dig, and can link up the play. He's a very linear midfielder, right? That's exactly what we need. Let everybody else do what they need to do, mate.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And you look at it and you're saying there about guys like Hatate and whatever else. Do you know what this is going to bring in, mate? It's going to bring in competition. So these guys know that they're not going to be shooty in. They're not going to be the first name on the team sheet now because you've got guys like this coming in and fighting for positions. So, all that competition's brilliant. And then, like you said, Steve, how many times have we been on here saying about Celtic substitutions? We're taking off Arnie Engels, but we're bringing on like McCowan, and you go, right, brilliant, excellent. There you go. That's not a like for like. That's nowhere near. You're bringing on Paulo Bernardo, who's been off for God knows how long. Do you know what I mean? So being able to swap these guys about, being able to have them in there, I think you're going to probably start with like Oxlade-Chamberlain and Engels. That's got to be your two kind of midfielders that you're putting in there. Obviously, Callum McGregor's stapled on, isn't he? But I agree with what you're saying there as well. He's going to give other players the opportunity to push on. He's going to give them the chance to actually go out there and not relax a little bit, but concentrate more on what they're there to do, rather than having to do all of the other shit that they're running about, overcomplicating things.
It's going to be a better headache to have, isn't it? Because folk are asking, where do you play him? Where do you play him? Well, just play him in his standard position. In fact, ask him, where would you like to play in the midfield? Like, I'll be honest with you like that. Where would you like to play, mate? Right? Because I feel at times we've tried to just solely accommodate Cal McGregor or whatever role he wants to play, and everybody's worked around him. And sometimes it's worked and sometimes it hasn't. Whereas I think when you get a guy like that, I even think that even though Cal McGregor is the captain, I think he'll have the grace and respect to turn around and have the conversation with the player, with Martin Neill, and say, right, look, we need to get this guy in the best position. Let's work the midfield around him.
Yeah.
And that's everything else from there should fall into place, mate. But it's actually quite it's quite exciting for me, as it says, Ox-Citing, pun fully intended, proposition here. Folk want to slag it off, and as it's just snobbery, and it's just, this pretense of, look at that, guy's free, but the guy's undoubted quality. And people are saying, would you rush him in? Absolutely no, I would not. I would still be cautious with him. He'll have been training at a high level with Arsenal, but it's still training. And there's a difference between being fit and being match fit. And as I say, with the amount of games that we've got left, every game's pivotal, every game's massive. It'll feel like a cup final. We can't drop points. But at the same time, I would rather ease him in, because what we've got at this moment in time, with the additionals that we've brought in, the winger, we've got the strikers now, we should, from an attacking standpoint, be in a better position than we were, right? Ease him in, make him comfortable, and try to maximise what you get out. See, if we brought him in and you're tiptoeing him in 20 minutes, 25 minutes or whatever for 5 games, so be it. I'm all right with it. Make sure that once he is up to speed, he's got himself integrated, he's used to what's going to happen, and then you can hopefully, touch wood, fire on full throttle for those big, important running ones. That's when you want him. Don't try and bring him in because he's the new shiny thing if he signs. Don't try and do that at the front end and ruin it, and then that's it, it's all over. Try and save him for the championship rounds, if you will, Paddy.
Kind of saving your ace card, innit? Playing it at the right time. I agree with that, Steve. Obviously, the game tomorrow, I think it'll be a good opportunity for some of the new guys to come in and show what they've got, get their first game over the line. Sorry?
That's the game. We're not Sunday.
No, tomorrow, innit? 5:30 tomorrow.
My head's up my backside. Apologies, mate.
5:30 tomorrow, mate. And I think
it feels like it should be a Sunday game, doesn't it? 5:30. That's what's thrown me.
We've just kind of get used to the Sunday games. That's what the problem is, mate. We've just kind of got this into our heads now. It's that damn Europa League. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Well, let's get on next year. Let's win the league, concentrate, get in the Champions League, and get Saturday football back. That's what we need. But coming into that, mate, it's a cracking opportunity for some of the new guys to go out there and show what they've got. Obviously, like you said, we'll see Araujo, we'll see Zavanchara, and then hopefully a few of the other boys will maybe make a wee debut tomorrow. So it's a game I'm really looking forward to. We'll get to that kind of towards the end as well and see what the deal is there. But all good,
definitely.
Mate.
Well, it's positive in the says, look, we're waiting on that confirmation. Big Fab Romano, but you say it a million times. Once he says something, you're waiting on it to happen. I never felt anyway. I think it's an irrelevance if he was going to be ready for this game tomorrow or not. You shouldn't need him, put it that way, right?
We've missed out the part to put him into the Europa League squad, haven't we? I think he's going to be in just a wee bit too late to be added to the squad.
It looks that way. maybe perhaps if it's something that's going to happen, it would be good if it was something that was delivered. And all right, we'll get on to it. He might come out on the pitch to a God knows what capacity, Celtic Park, but that's probably the way to look at it. But there's no need to rush this guy in. If he's going to be signing, it'll happen when it happens. As I says, even for the game midweek, you shouldn't even be needing him for that either, right? So there is no rush, but obviously the key point is try and get him in as soon as you probably can, just so that he can start meeting his teammates and hit the ground running. But I'm positive about this one, Paddy. I think it's definitely going to add some real quality. And as I said, I think comments are mentioned as well. I think that will make other people better. Around them, and that's what we need. We've seen that knock-on effect, as we said, when we've had these season pros in before. We see the effect that Joe Hart's had. We've seen what's happened with Kasper Schmeichel. It's perfect. Even Ian Acho, I'm sure that he'll be doing positives for the squad as well, and the younger strikers and stuff at the club. So I think it's a good move. And again, if Martin Neill's enthusiastic about it, then again, take that as you find it. He's 32. He's not exactly over the hill. We're talking as if he's a guy who's coming in. He's 34, 35. He's no Paddy.
Aye. He's a young, fit laddie, mate, and he's kept himself fit as well. Martin O'Neill had said that in his interview, didn't he? You've seen that. He says nowadays a footballer at age of 32, these guys keep themselves incredibly fit, and they're good to go. So for me, mate, I've not seen a bad word basically said about him for any of the Celtic fans. Obviously, as soon as Fabrizio Romano announced it, I put it straight onto the TikTok channel. I put the boom, he's coming, here it is, and everybody was straight in there. Oh, excellent, what a signing. He'll run riot up here, he'll do this, he'll do that. So again, all positive, and it's one that I'm quite excited about. Obviously, you look at some of the other boys that we've brought in on loan and names that you're not really, I don't know what's the word there. You don't really know who they are.
Well, Paddy, sorry,
he's coming in. He's a big name.
People, well, that's what I was going to say. I want just your thoughts on that to close on this subject. People are saying it's just a name signing for the sake of it because people were a wee bit underwhelmed with the transfer window. I can see that sort of cynical view on it, but I don't think so. I think if there's someone there that's got that quality, is available and he wants to come to you, you're stupid not to take it. That's what I'm at with it.
Of course you are. I mean, when you look at it, Steve, all right, I'll be completely honest with everybody in the chat there as well. And I was extremely disappointed that we didn't go out and make a statement signing, that we didn't go out and actually spend some money. Obviously, somebody like Kasper Hall or somebody like that. I wanted us to spend that money, not just because it's been flashy and it's going out and going, oh, look what we can do, just because it shows that intent. It shows that you're willing to, you've got that ambition. That the board back the fans, that they've got the ambition to come in and go, do you know what? Yeah, we've done this for you. There's a big signing. There's a marquee signing. And we never done it, mate. And I was straight on to TikTok and I said that and I was like, do you know what? This isn't good enough. Bringing in all these loan signings and it's ridiculous and blah, 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 blah. And I haven't spent a penny. And I kind of went off on a big, decent rant about it all. And straight away, cut down. Probably guys like San Fran would have been in there. Decent transfer window overall. I agree to an extent. However, you look at it, not a penny spent, several positions filled, yes, but I kind of wanted that marquee signing. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just, I don't know, wired differently. I wanted the board to show that ambition that the fans are starting to show, and I never seen it. And I got a lot of backlash from it. People saying, why would you spend all that money? Because we've got an interim manager. We have a new manager going to come in. He's going to want to bring his own players. If you get these guys on loan, then potentially you can buy them come the end of the loan period if the new manager likes what he's seeing. And it wasn't until getting all of those messages actually kind of looked at it and went, you know what? It probably was a decent transfer window when you think about it. And then bringing in somebody like Oxlade-Chamberlain, a big name. I'm not going to say it's a marquee signing, but it's a big name. It's a name that makes you sit down and actually go, do you know what? Yeah, that's a signing. That's a decent one to bring in. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it has kind of, my opinion's pivoted on it about 4 or 5 times. With regards
to just generalise on the window, what did you think of the wee short sit down that we got? I think it was Sky and it was Sutton with Martin Neill. And I thought, people say, well, Martin's going to say that, isn't he? He seemed quite happy. He seemed quite content when it was brought in. I think that I don't care what you say. I still the Benjamin Arthur. I don't know where that came from. I don't know how much Martin to do with that, but whatever. But the other signings, he seemed quite happy. He seemed quite content with what he had. He felt like he'd kick on. He felt that he was getting the required level of quality there. And what was actually quite interesting as well is where he said that he wasn't. His observations of Celtic's transfer dealings was that he wasn't like satisfied or didn't feel that it was of a Celtic standard. Obviously, as I'm talking about what he had saw when he came in the interim in the first period, and then subsequently where he thought things were going when he took over, and obviously had to be ripped up. I thought that was quite interesting, Paddy. Did it make you feel any better about it when you heard Martin speak around it?
Not really. It kind of made me feel a little bit like I felt in the beginning, like Martin O'Neill had been brought in to pacify the fans. And I kind of got that feeling again, that he was trying to justify these signings when I feel that he didn't actually have to. The fact that we were getting people in the door was probably enough for a lot of fans, because, like you say, Steve, we've left it again to the very last minute. It's just when Celtic seem to do their business. We don't get stuff done early. We don't go out there and show initiative. We just wait to the very last minute and take the dregs from everything else. And that's how I kind of felt about it at the beginning. Now, see if these are guys that we've been monitoring all the way through and we went, you know what, bang, we can get them in a free, bring them in. We can get them on loan, bring them in. We can do this, bring them in. Right? Fair play. That's brilliant if they've been able to do that. But I don't think it is. And for me, the Martin O'Neill thing was, again, just a wee bit of pacifying for the unhappy fan base.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as we said, we'll see how this one pans out. We all but expect that to happen. And I think, yep, a positive addition to the squad.
Yes.
Ease him in. I think it'll give everybody a lift, but quite excited to see how the team will shape up tomorrow and if these new guys get a run out. And it should be, as I say, have an extremely winnable game, kind of game we want. So on to that then. Excuse me. There's been, as we say, there's been other things that have been happening off the pitch. We obviously got a couple of statements from the Celtic Fans Collective. We got a video sit-down statement, whatever you want to call it, from Brian Wilson, temporary chairman from Celtic, and obviously there was responses to that. Now, what I want to do, Paddy, is, if I'm sure everybody out here's done these, but two statements have come out. I want to get your thoughts on it. You know, tell us exactly what you think of the statements that have been released, the proposed action. Tell us what you think of the club video statement as well, and you know, we'll chew that over. And likewise in the comments, let us know your thoughts around these things, the proposed action, the statements by the collective, statements from the GB that we've heard, and obviously what came out from the club. I will do my best to read through these here, and of course I'll try best not to trip over my words. So obviously the first one came out from the Celtic Fans Collective there, and it reads, following the latest disappointing transfer window, Celtic Fans Collective met last night. Obviously, you'll be aware of this, to discuss ongoing campaign for positive change at the club. An overwhelming majority of supporters, these club representatives, fan group representatives, independent supporters, voted in favour of a boycott in Saturday evening's match against Dundee. The supporters unjustly banned, fan media locked out, and an executive team widely regarded as unfit for purpose. The clear feeling within the collective was that it's time for action as now. While we recognise the difficult and emotional toll this decision will have on many Celtic supporters, we invite and encourage fans to stand with us in sending a clear and unequivocal message to Celtic FC. You must make decisive action, initiate meaningful change, and restore positive communication with support. Celtic Fans Collective agreed in three key areas of the club must address to prevent the boycott and further actions of protest, namely 1, removal of Michael Nicholson, CEO, 2, reinstatement of the GB, and 3, lifting the access restrictions in all forms of fan media organisations, allowing them to cover both men and women's teams once again. Following Brian Wilson's call for unity 4 weeks ago, the collective offered to meet with the chairman and discuss how this unity could be achieved at the club. Fortunately, this was ignored. Despite this, we remain open to further engagement. In the meantime, Celtic Fans Collective began a process of planning and coordinating further protest and action in the coming weeks. Now, Paddy, that was the first statement. We then got the video, Brian Wilson sitting down with Jeremy Culloch, went through a couple of things. We'll talk about, I'll give my thoughts, you give your thoughts. The general flavour of it was, again, calling for unity, calling for the importance, saying we understand fan tensions. They mentioned the tensions between fan groups and stuff, namely the GB, without actually naming them. Spent a bit of time around about that, and basically says things had been at a go slow because of concentrating and focusing on the transfer window. Yada, yada, yada. Hopefully we can get around the table and we can sort it out. He also said that he'd spoken to fan groups or reached out to certain fan groups. I would continue to want to do so. And he also said something about, I was walking through the city and I bumped into a couple of folk and I spoke to them, they spoke to me, and it was all right, okay, thanks, I understand, cheers for talking, blah, blah, blah. In retaliation, if you want to call that, or response, this one came out again, and it's talking about the boycott. And it's just a further follow-on as a result of that. It just says, last night, Celtic Football Club released a video interim chairman Brian Wilson calling for unity and suggesting he was keen to engage with all Celtic supporters groups. There had been no discussions between the club and fans beforehand, and emails were sent out to several organisations shortly before the club's release, though the collective has not been contacted directly. Given that the Celtic board has largely ignored fan communication for months, this demonstrates the impact that a call for the boycott in Saturday's matches already have an effect. We remain keen to engage with representatives of the club and make progress on the issue that mattered most to the supporters. However, as things stand, there has been no change around three key issues previously outdated, and again, it's the outline, and it's the exact same: removal of Nicholson, reinstatement of GB, and lifting restrictions in fan media. Therefore, Saturday's boycott will proceed as planned, and we call on all Celtic supporters to send a clear message to the board this weekend by joining the boycott to help deliver the change that is required. Now, they also supplemented that with a kind of like question and answer type thing, where it basically says, here's the purpose, this is the intentions, and, you know, answering generic stuff like, what if I don't want to do it? What if blah, blah, blah? You know, just to sort of maybe alleviate or, you know, iron out some maybe misconceptions about what people's response will be. Folk don't want to do it. So with all that, Paddy, it's so much to unpack. Give me your thoughts on this whole situation that we find ourselves in, mate.
Okay, I understand where the collective are coming from in the beginning when they talk about the lack of communication from Celtic. Now, if you think all the way back to the first meeting when the collective went in there and Mr. Nicholson sat and he done the shoulder shrug and was pretty dismissive of everything that the collective had to offer on that day, so would you be if somebody was in there calling for your head, let's be honest. But they were sitting there and they basically disagreed with absolutely everything. They did agree on one thing, and that was that they were very, very poor when it came to communicating with the fans. Now, you come further down the line, and that poor communication is now no communication because they blocked the fans out. They basically had nothing to do with it. They didn't allow any fan media into Celtic Park and basically kind of nullified it. So on that side of it, I can see where the collective are coming. I mean, you look at your man's interview, Mr. Wilson's interview there, and he's sitting and he's getting interviewed by Jerry McCulloch. I think Jerry McCulloch interviewing him was an absolute joke. Again, I think that should have been done with somebody else. I think it should have been an independent interviewing him. I think the only thing Jerry McCulloch didn't ask him what was his favourite fucking colour. Let's be honest, we normally get that. Do you know what I mean? What's your favourite colour, Brian? I think it was very scripted. It was very organised. It was very well put together. Asking for unity, using the kind of keywords that the people who want to stop boycotts, that the people who are against any change, the words that they'll jump on and go, see, he is doing it. He is doing this. Now, we're part of fan media, Steve. We've not been contacted by Celtic, right? I'm not saying we're up there with these kind of big guns and whatever, and we're going to be first on the list, but I haven't heard. I haven't been contacted. I've spoken to a few others, and they haven't been contacted. So I don't quite know where this has come from or who has been contacted. But I just think it was very well scripted to put the words out there into their mouths, basically.
Sorry, just on that, just to jump in whilst you're talking about him, just how did you think he came across?
I think he was trying to be very sincere. I don't know the guy personally. When you talk about it like that, Steve, I was talking to fans and I was doing this and doing that. I think he was trying too hard to be one of us, to be like a Celtic fan, basically. Again, I could be totally wrong. Listen, the guy could be one of the most genuine guys out there. He could be a Celtic fan like me and you, and he is actually wanting to do something, wanting to change things. But for me, I felt like he was trying a wee bit too hard. Maybe the scripted questions didn't really help with that. If it was a conversation kind of like what me and you are having, then I think it would have been a bit better. Off the cuff, mate, what's your thoughts on this? Off the cuff, mate, what's your thoughts on this? What do you think? Do you know what I mean? Rather than sitting there and going, oh, okay, so what do you think about the fans that we've banned? Not mentioning any names. Do you know what I mean? Like these wee shitty scripted bits. I don't agree with that, mate. I think it should have been dealt with a bit better, and it's probably detriment to him when it comes to it. You probably disagree with it, but I just felt like it was over scripted, and I felt like he was trying a wee bit too hard to be too genuine about it. As for the boycotts and stuff, Steve, I've said it previous times, and I've said it into the collective group as well, that I am against boycotting games because I think the team need us to be there, especially now. We've went out. Yes, we're not happy with all the transfer window. We're not happy with not spending any money in the summer, not spending any money now. We're not happy with how it's all kind of went. So I understand to an extent what's happening, but I think the team need us. The team need the fans there. They need the noise. They need to know that the fans support them. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm for it. I've got a lot of kickback from that, but what I would say is that we need to do protesting before games or after games. I think that's where we need to be with it. During the games, we should let the football do the talking, support the team, sack the board. That's kind of where I'm at it. And I think that obviously it's going to be very, very split when it comes to stuff like that. But the kind of situation with the GB and stuff as well, Steve, when you look at that, I agree they bring a lot of good, but they also carry a lot of bad. And I think there needs to be a line drawn under it. There needs to be communication from Celtic, what's expected of certain fan groups and what's tolerable. And it's not telling people what to do. It's not telling people how to support their club, but it's telling people where the line is, basically. And I think that's kind of where it needs to be. So, yeah, I think I've kind of went over everything there. Is there anything else you'd like me to add on it? Or? You're on mute, Steve.
No, as I say, listen, I'm not expecting anything massive. I just wanted your honest, unfiltered opinion on these sort of things, I say, because I think that there's this misconception that fan media or podcasts or bloggers or whatever you want to call are all carbon copies each other and they all think the same thing and they all toe a party line and get down it. So, if anybody watches us, we'll always give you 100% honest what we think here. And I'll tell you my bit after, obviously, I'll let Pandy finish up. We're not here to tell you what to do. We're not here to say that we are right and you're wrong and vice versa. Equally, you throw your comments at us. That doesn't mean your view is right and ours is necessarily wrong. We're here to have a conversation. Everybody supports their club in different ways. Yeah. Everybody has different approaches, different thoughts on these processes. And in my opinion, no one is right and or is wrong in particular. Everybody should do what they ultimately feel comfortable with. And that's what I would say. In terms of what was outlined, the 3 points, Nicholson to go, the Green Brigade reinstatement and fan media access. What do you think of that as collectives, interim goals, if you want to call it that? What do you feel? Obviously, it went from a 7-point thing. It's been funneled down. It's been slightly narrowed. Where are you with those as objectives, if you will, Paddy?
I think there are 3 points that they've brought up that they want done initially. I don't think if they 3 issues get met, then that's going to be the end of it. I think there's going to be then a backlash. Right, we've got these 3. Let's get more. I agree with getting rid of Michael Nicholson 100%. The Green Brigade, yes, to need reinstated, but again, I spoke about that before, Steve-o. The people who done wrong at the Falkirk game need to be dealt with on a personal level. They need to be disciplined or seen a juror or whatever. They need to be dealt with for what happened during that game. With the reinstatement of fan media, listen, is that going to make a massive difference to all of this? No, I don't think it is. But it would help out because obviously you've got the main media in there at the minute asking questions. Again, are the main media going to be scripted, or are they going to ask the same kind of questions that we would? I think we would be putting questions a little bit more towards the board at this moment in time and less so about the kind of players incoming. Like if you listen to Mark Neill's there, we Gordon Duncan sitting there, and the first 4 questions were about Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Do you know what I mean? There was nothing about the disrupt with Michael Nicholson. There was nothing about the interview getting put out by Wilson. There was nothing else there. So I think that if they are going to reinstate it, then there's going to be a lot of rules around that. Like I say, if the GB get reinstated, there's going to be levels of what can be done here. Do you know what I mean? They're going to be a little bit more going down the Peter Lawwell route of telling people how to behave. And I don't think that the GB or the collective will act well with that. I really don't. But again, it's going to be a bit of give and take here. That Celtic aren't just going to turn around and go, yeah, do you know what, there, Nicholson, out you go, GB, in you come, right, guys, in you come, there you go. Sorry, he's won the meetings before, but it was that Michael Nicholson, but we've got rid of him. Do you know what I mean? That's not going to happen. So, for me, mate, there needs to be a bit of give and take. And at the minute, I don't think there is anybody, Celtic or the collective, willing to do the give. There's nobody willing to do that.
Yeah. Well, Paddy, just before I obviously give my 2 bobs worth, I believe we spoke briefly before we came on. There's some sort of update around this that you obviously were aware of. So if you want to fire away from that, that'll be interesting to hear, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I've got an update here. It was on North Curve's Twitter. So basically it's come up and it's said, yesterday evening the club finally relented on its position and accepted to meet with the Green Brigade. However, this was part of a series of separate meetings to various fan organisations which excluded the Celtic Fans Collective. The Green Brigade welcomes the opportunity for dialogue within the club. However, we believe that at this point it is in the wider interests of everyone concerned, supporters and the club, that a meeting between the Celtic Fans Collective and the club takes precedence. The Celtic Fans Collective is the broadest, most representative Celtic fan body. It has led an effective campaign for positive change, which has delivered results. This includes the implementing boycott and further protest actions, which have clearly moved the club's position. Collective action and spirit is working. The Celtic support is far stronger and our mutual interests better protected when we're all united. We must allow the club to revert back to the old culture of managing individual fan organisations separately and quietly. We must insist that a new fan engagement culture built on trust, transparency, unity and cooperation is inbuilt. We encourage all supporters to maintain pressure on the Celtic board until words translate to actions. Tomorrow's match is a perfect opportunity to demonstrate fan discontent, and an effective boycott will help move our club closer to its supporters.
Right. Okay. So there's obviously, following on for the statement there, it's saying that, am I right in saying, just to catch it, that the Green Brigade have saying they've been contacted with a let's sit down and chat about it. And are they saying that they've knocked that back? Are they saying, no, we don't want to talk to you at this moment in time, go and speak to the collective? Am I reading that right?
That's kind of how I read it, Steve. They've basically said, listen, guys, thank you very much for the offer. However, we believe that the Celtic Fans Collective are more important than us at this minute. So, again, you can see where they're coming from, because as the Celtic Fans Collective go in there, the second point on their agenda is to reinstate the Green Brigade. So there is a bit of positive thinking in there, isn't there? There's a wee bit of method behind the madness. So, yes, you can see that. But listen, it's positive steps. They've made contact.
And on that, do you think that is... Where are you on that stance at the Green Brigade? Again, just looking for an opinion here. I'm not saying it's necessarily the right one or not. It's your opinion. Do you think that they should have just taken them up in the offer, or you know, do you agree? Do you think that the collective is the be all and end all of like who they should be talking to? Is what I mean. I don't mean that with disrespect to the collective. I just mean, I understand that they represent such a large body of fans, but do you think you should just take the opportunities as and when they come, and then they'll start to filter through and come to other people, or do you think they're right to take that stance?
Again, I think it's one that's going to divide, isn't it? If it's me, I would take it, because let's face it, there's been absolutely hee-haw from Celtic. There's been no correspondence with anybody. So I understand that the collective is the main body. Obviously, we're part of it, Steve. We're part of that 400 signatures in the beginning that helped create the group. But I just think that when it comes to something like that, the Green Brigade, yes, they've been under fire for so long. If they've asked them to go in for a meeting, I would have went for it. Do you know what I mean? If it's on me, then I would have went, you know what, yeah, I'm going to take that. Whether I'm part of the collective group or whether I'm part of any other group, I'm going to look at that and go, do you know what, I've got the better opportunity to jump in here and actually get something from this club to put my point across. And I think that might be something that's been missed there. If the club do come back and go, do you know what, yeah, you're spot on, let's go to the collective and we'll bring a meeting in with them. But the club don't have to do that. The club could just go, do you know what, we offered you an olive branch, you pushed it back in our face, you can get nothing. Do you know what I mean? And that's what we don't want to happen. We want change. We want it to happen, and it's about going about it the right way. This could be the right way. Who am I to say that it's not? But if it's me that's doing it, Steve, I'm jumping at the opportunity of a meeting there to discuss what's wrong.
Yeah, well, as I say, thanks for your thoughts on that, Paddy. As I say, I'll obviously offer mine here. I agree and prescribe to some of the stuff. I've maybe get different thoughts on that, but I said, hey, that's what we're here for. We're here to have a conversation, have a chat. So on the broadness of the whole thing that we spoke about, here is, for what it's worth, if you're interested, my 2 bobs worth, because it wouldn't be a conversation without giving another opinion with it, Paddy, and just rather than saying, that's cool. I very much echo a lot of what you've said now. Disclaimer, and it's stupid that we have to do this, isn't it? For the avoidance of doubt here, right? This is my opinion. This is Steve-O's opinion. It's not Paddy's opinion. You've heard Paddy's opinion. I won't necessarily agree with everything he says. He won't agree with everything I'm saying, and likewise yours, right? I'm not here to tell you that I'm right and you're wrong. I say all the time, Paddy's no right and I'm no wrong for disagreeing, and vice versa. And everybody else in the comments, we all support, we all have different thoughts on these things, and that's it. We're as a platform, a podcast. You know what? Even saying that, and it sounds daft because we're a podcast, but a wee bit of me kind of coils up that idea. I hate this. I'm a podcaster. I'm a fan media. I'm whatever. I don't know. I hate it. I don't ever think of myself. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not a content creator. I hate those tags. So I feel a bit cringy.
My daughter was slagging me the other day, Steve-O, says, Dad, you used to slag all these guys, YouTubers and content creators and everything. She's like, you're one now. I was like, no, I'm not.
As daft as it is, we are on here, but I never consider myself to be that. I always just think
you're just 2 guys that like to talk shit about Celtic.
We're having a conversation, and as I said before when I started this channel, if you lovely people, and thousands of you now have jumped on board and came on board with us and joined this journey, then you think brilliant, that was a bonus. But I done it because I just wanted to talk about Celtic, my mates, and if people joined in, great. So I still have that attitude towards it. But yeah, look, back to the business here. Here's where I'm at with it. To bring up the original sort of the statement here, I fully understand what's happening, and as I says, we as the Celtic World Order podcast, we were one of the names on the original letter, the first letter that was out there, that had the 7 points on it, and we fully put our voice behind that. That's as much as involvement as we have had with the Celtic Fans Collective. And I've said it before, and just for avoidance of doubt, they represent thousands upon thousands of different organisations, supporters groups, clubs, fan media, all that kind of stuff. That's what the original letter is. But I can say, and this isn't me trying to distance myself, doesn't me try to say I disagree with anything, it's just because we get asked all the time. We have no skin in the game of the collective, we have no input, we have no influence, we don't make any decisions. We are literally nothing more than we're a signatory on that first letter. That's where our involvement began and ended. We've came on here, as you well know, since the collective was founded. We'll give you these updates. We'll talk about these parts of subjects and things. And we'll never always agree And I think that's fair. We've never been carte blanche. We've never went there and says 100% everything that the collective do, we're fully behind it. We support it. We think it's how we would do it. We've always gave you our own personal opinions on it, and we will continue to do that, as I say. So that's one thing that I would definitely want to highlight. In terms of, I've seen this statement out on social media. I've seen other videos on social media. I've seen other platforms put out videos on social media. And let's just say the response, as you'd imagine, has been polarising. Now, we're talking about it mid-show. I've said this, and I'll repeat again. I'm not going to sit here. Paddy's not going to sit here. Stevie's not going to sit here. None of us are ever going to sit here and try to tell you what to do, or try to force something down your neck and say to you, this is what you should do. I'm going to say once more, I believe that you will support Celtic the way that works best for you, and you will make the choices that work best for you. And see, for me, that's the way it should be. I'll give you my opinion, which is as follows. I think that, yes, what's been asked isn't unreasonable. I think that Michael Nicholson, first and foremost, I say that after the transfer window, he should have been the next order of business. He should have walked or been sacked immediately after it. I think he has shown over the piece that he is incompetent. He is not capable of doing the job. He's a lawyer who's been promoted several stations above his own, and he's getting exposed left, right, and centre. The decisions that he's made over his time in position, it's been catastrophe after catastrophe. There's been failing after failing, and ultimately he's cost his entry to, or not necessarily, we had to win the games, but what I mean is by not providing the tools, he is jeopardising, ultimately lost access to the Premier European tournament. We have struggled in the league. We've had the Wilfred Nancy experiment, stuff like that. So for me, he needs to go. I fully agree with that. Reinstatement of the GB and other fans, we've said our part on it. I think that at this moment in time, it's absolutely massive. It's absolutely pivotal that we have as much fans inside the stadium as physically possible to create as much noise to get this team pushed on and really get behind them. I've said before, there is undoubtedly huge egos in the Celtic boardroom. And again, whether people want to say that's the case or not, I believe that within certain fan groups or fan groups in general, or just fans, football fans, there will be an element of ego there as well. And it'll be two people going at it, like two rocks smashing against each other. Nobody wants to bend at the knee. Nobody wants to give up any ground. And you end up with a stalemate. And I think that's what we've got. The clubs say, we want to talk, but it doesn't happen. The fans will say, we want to talk, and maybe it doesn't happen. So they both say they're roughly about the same thing. We want to do this, we want to do that. And none of them really meet in the middle. That's where I'm at with it. I think they need to come in. And with Paddy on the whole thing of the collective punishment doesn't work. Any people who have been wrongdoing, you'll know who they are by now. They should be removed, and it shouldn't be, for everybody. That's where I'm at with it. Let's get around the table. Let's sort that out. Point 3, in terms of the fan media, personally, I don't give a fuck. And again, this is me just being honest. Steve, you're fan media, you're whatever. I don't have an invite to Celtic Park. Paddy doesn't have an invite to Celtic Park. I'll be honest. If they offered me one, I would take it. But I'm not bothered. I don't think access to fan media makes anything more important or better than other. I think the way I look at it is it's a nicety, not a necessity. We don't have access, but do you ever sit down and watch Celtic World Order and say, oh, see if they had access to Celtic Park, I would have far better content out of those guys. They'd cover the Celtic matches better. No. Well, go to the game like we do, or watch a game.
Yeah.
Follow up on current affairs with Celtic and talk about it. So that's just me. Look, that's not me taking shots at anybody at all. I just feel personally, see, before I even started this, and even since I've been in it, I don't feel that even when fan media was getting into the stadiums, that it added any additional value to my watching experience or following of Celtic beyond what I got. Other than you'd maybe watch a podcast, listen to a podcast, and you'd hear, yeah, and when we were at the meeting, we asked this question. That was it. So I don't feel that it makes any difference. I think it's more about the optics of how it looks. It's about showing that you are being inclusive and you're wanting to invite fans on the journey and make them feel part of it. I think it's more about how it makes people feel rather than what comes out of it. That's just for me. Again, I don't think that if Celtic World Order had access to Celtic Park, that you would get any more value out of what we do by it. That's something in the future I think that the Celtic board should look at, and maybe try to work in, conjunction with fan media to do something that's a wee bit more bespoke, which will give more value to them, but also to the platforms that they can cascade out, whether it's like, fan media exclusive events that they're allowed to come in and film and vlog and all that, and they get something out of it. At the moment, they don't do it, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with that point. Sorry, Paddy, on you go. You want to say something?
No, I totally agree with that, Steve. For me, that's a kind of thank you for Celtic, isn't it? Giving that to some of the fan media platforms and saying, listen, and you come, right, today you can get to interview Callum McGregor, you can get to interview Martin O'Neill. You sit down and you get to ask them a couple of questions if you see fit and whatever. And that's something that they don't have to do, Steve. It's not something that's been written down, that it's a law that has to be done. For me, it's a thank you. It's one of the wee things to turn around and say, do you know what, guys? Yeah, we do appreciate everything that you do for the club. Yeah. We appreciate that you guys are on there and you're putting out lots of Celtic content, whether it be good, whether it be bad. There's no such thing as bad publicity, Steve. Let's be honest.
No.
So we're giving the guys publicity. We're going out there. We're promoting our club to a certain extent. So for me, that's a wee thank you. It's a wee olive branch, as I said before, that I'd be quite happy to do that. Do you know what I mean? To go in there and have a couple of wee interviews with players and whatever else, and get to do a wee vlog of Celtic Park and stuff. I think that'd be great. But yeah, as Steve said there, we're not on that. We didn't go to St. Aloysius.
Aye, so no, as I say, just to continue on, off the points, yes, Nichols had gone. Fans in the stadium, absolutely. The fan media, but I don't know why it's been put on there. I don't know. It is what it is. Cool. Yeah. If it gets changed, then fine. But to me, I don't think it makes any difference whatsoever. As I said, a nicety, not a necessity. That's just where I'm at with it. And again, even if they open it back up, we suddenly get an email, I will go. But I don't think it's the format that the entrance or the access that they get. It doesn't really, for me at least, contribute anything beyond it. Maybe it's different if you are reporting and you're writing pieces. Maybe that it does have an impact there. But I don't feel largely my experiences of fan media stuff that it makes any much of a difference. But anyway, moving on to the statement that we had from Mr. Wilson. I'll be honest with you, I didn't think anything, and scold me for it. I didn't think anything he said was particularly interesting, and I didn't also think that it was overly disingenuous. I can see how it looks and maybe seems a bit contrived and sat down, and the pressure's mounting and we have to do something. What I will say is for what it's worth, at least he's put his scootum out there twice now.
Yeah,
and we can see right through it. It's tempered, it's in-house, it's, there's nothing hard getting asked, it's totally controlled, but it is what it is. We've never heard from them, we don't hear from them, we complain when we hear, we don't hear from them, we complain when we do hear from them. So what I will say is fair play, you've put your face out there, and again, for what it's worth, I don't know the guy for Adam, I still think he came across better than Wall ever did, and Nicholson ever did. I mean, the bar's low, but
he didn't shrug his shoulders and he didn't tell him that he behaved, so he done all right. Do you know what I mean?
I feel that in the statement, personally, I felt he spent too much time talking about the Green Brigade without not naming them.
Yes,
that's what I would say there, and it is what it is. I think, and again, I'm hearing things when I've tried to do a bit of digging, where it says they've contacted certain organisations, fan groups and stuff like that, and not others. And I think the general consensus is that that's contrived and it's trying to divide and conquer and whatever. Yeah. What I will say on that is, and this is again just me, I don't care how they go about contacting fan groups as long as they're doing it.
Yeah.
I'm no precious about the order that comes in. I'm no precious about who's first in line. I don't care. I just want them to have dialogue with fan groups. And I know get it, and people say, but they're handpicking it, right? That's fine. But maybe they're handpicking the first. But then you have to follow up. You have to go to all the other ones. So with that, again, I know it's politics, and I know that they'll have an agenda behind it. But if they're talking to fans, no matter where they're from, that's important. What I will say is, I don't think that one fan group or one supporters association or one group is more important than the other. That's where I'm at with it. We're all Celtic supporters. We've all got a love for this. We all want things to change. And as long as they are reaching out and continue to reach out and don't be blindly selective, then I'm okay with it and I'm not precious. That brings me on to the thing with regards to the collective. Now, you provided an update that I didn't know about, but now I do know. And I had thought at the time, this is my take, before what you just told me, I think, right, they've not contacted the collective, which is undoubtedly the biggest and most notable fan group, if you want to call it, that have came together for this, asking for positive change at board level for the better of the club, the betterment of the club, right? Why have they not contacted them? And I'll be honest with you, I think the reason, now they've obviously reached out to the Green Brigade, but I thought they've not done it because they don't want to talk to the Green Brigade. Clearly, under the pressures came, they now do want to. But let's just assume they hadn't done that. I had thought they've not contacted the collective because, and a lot of people have said that, this isn't me, this isn't just me saying this right now, a lot of people with this opinion, the naysayers, if you will, of the collective movement have says it's just a vehicle around the Green Brigade. And as we know, the Green Brigade and other fan ultra groups can polarise elements of our support. So I've went, if they don't want to talk to the Green Brigade, they probably think that the collective essentially are the Green Brigade with more folk attached to them. That's why they're not doing it. And I was actually going to say, maybe the best thing would have been if the Green Brigade went, listen, we understand that there might be this perception that the collective is us. It isn't. We're part of it. We support what they do. And to prove that, we're going to just take a wee step to the side. We're going to support everything and back anything that the collective want to do, but just to show this is more than us. And that, I felt, if that had happened, they would have got the audience almost instantly.
Yeah.
But now it turns out that they do want to speak to the Green Brigade. So they should now then contact the collective. But again, labouring on the point of who they talk to, in order to talk to, it's hard and it is difficult because the collective represents so many people. And I think to have proper, decent conversations, it needs to be like one or two people. So how do the collective or whoever it is get to that point of nominating the figureheads? Because I think if there's too many people in one room, it turns into a clusterfuck. So that comes back to my point. See if they reach out to such and such CSC for whatever area, then another one, then they say to the Green Brigade, right, yous come in, right, the boys, yous come in, whatever it may well be. You know, the Irish Association of Sports, somebody for yous come in. See if they're having multiple meetings with multiple people. I'm all right with that as long as we get there in the end. I think the last thing that we want is loads of people fired into a room, too many voices at once, and it turned into a disorganised mess. That's my concern, Paddy, and I think that's where it's important for the collective moving forward to really pinpoint one, maybe two people that are a figurehead, that if they are going in, that's what happens. Not like, I believe the last time there was the meeting that was like, well, there's two people for this element of the collective, there's two people for that, there's one for here, there's one for there. Too many people. Can't have too many people.
With the collective, I think there was the main group, wasn't there, that kind of went off the spearhead group, basically. And I think there was maybe 8 in the beginning. I don't know how many's in it now, Steve, but I think originally it was about 8. And again, if you get all of them round the table, there is going to be, like you said, it'll be a clusterfuck. One question gets asked, 2 people have got different answers, and blah, 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 blah. It's all about being collective. And if you go around all of the different supporters clubs and all the different fan podcasts, even you look at the chat now, Steve, over 170 people in there, not every single one of these people are going to have the same opinion on how we do this going forward and what the end goal is for this. Some people don't want the board sacked, some people do, some people want to boycott games.
I do find it surprising though that there's still a lot of board backing.
I know, it's crazy, mate. And honestly, you go through, listen, guys, if you do have a chance, go to Celtic World Order podcast, TikTok, have a wee look on there, man. Have some of the backlash being getting through some of the stuff, man. People trying to tell you that the board have reinvested 149 million of 155 million pound profit and all that kind of stuff, and it's just absolutely laughable, some of the stuff on there. Some of these people actually believe that this stuff's happening. It's laughable. But getting back to it, Steve, I understand what you're saying. I don't care who it is. I'm the same as you. I don't care what fan media you get. I don't care if you get the GB, the Boys, whoever. But you need to start off with someone. If that somebody is the GB, who, let's face it, have had a lot of stick, they've had a lot of shit against them, and they're wanting reinstated into Celtic Park, then by all accounts, that's where you go first. You say, right, let's sort it with you guys first. Sort it with them, get them back inside, get the support going for the club, get the atmosphere back in at Celtic Park, and then you get in the collective and say, right, guys, listen, this is to address number one, we're going to do this. To address number two, we're going to do this. To address number three, this is what's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? And,
Paddy, I think that's a good way of looking at it, right? Now, folk might say, and I can see it, it's divide and conquer, it's a snap. Listen, I'm not here to disagree with that. I'm just giving you my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
I honestly, genuinely don't care what order they speak to folk in. I really don't. I don't. I'm sorry, I don't. And what I will say as well is, and I get this, the collective represent, they represent the most in terms of, groups.
Yeah.
And this isn't a negative. I'm just stating a fact. They don't represent everybody. There's still people who aren't part of it. There's still groups that aren't part of it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that anyone's more important over another. I think everybody should be getting spoke to, but that is the reality of it. They'll not be able to speak to everybody. I think absolutely they should be speaking to somebody for the collective. No doubt about it. Absolutely. 100%. I want to see it happen. But I also agree with what you're saying, Paddy. I think, first and foremost, you get the Green Brigade negotiations with them. You get them back in, you pick up and you lift things. And you know what? The Green Brigade, they know what they're doing. See if they came back in and these conversations, those follow-ups weren't, the invitation wasn't extended to the collective. If it wasn't extended to such and such group and another group, they'll just go, well, do you know what? We'll just not turn up again. Right?
Yeah.
They're not getting banned, they'll just do it in their own volition and not turn up. Right?
Yeah.
So, and folk will say, well, that'll suit them, that'll maybe do it. But the point I'm trying to make is we need to try and find the right balance at this moment in time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be just go like that and click and it's sorted. And that's where I'm at with it. I just think that people are saying it's non-negotiable. Again, the fan media, but I don't give a fuck. I really don't care. Nicholson go, absolutely. I agree with that. There's nothing that I disagree with that's there. Like, I'm cool with all 3 points of what to do. I just get there. Get to the destination, however you need to go there. And the road's never 100% linear. There's twists and turns and there's winds and stuff like that, but you need to get there. But for me, I think the collective need to be spoken to, but I also think as well, anybody that goes in and speak to it, whether it's the collective group, whether it's another association, whether it's the fans, whether it's the ultras group, it needs to be like small amounts of people that go in. It can't be a big massive free-for-all because it just won't work. Yeah. And I don't mean that because it's people going there with ill intentions. It will turn into a rabble, particularly
kind of like the AGM, Steve.
Yeah, it'll turn into a rabble.
Yeah.
It's exactly that's what it needs. There needs to be a focal point. I don't know. Maybe if there is, and they're saying here, mediation's going to take time. It isn't going to be completely one and done and gone, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to take time, and Nicholson's going to hang on for as long as he possibly can, isn't he? He's going to try and stay there for as long as he can, and it's just going to be one of the things, Steve. Like you said, it's not going to happen overnight. The Celtic fans, whether you spoke about it earlier on, divide and conquer and whatever else, the Celtic fan base is already divided at this minute in time. There's people out there that will look at it, and you can't disagree with them to an extent because you look at the trophy hall, you look at kind of how we're doing, and you go, do you know what? Fair play. There are certain things that are going well, but then when you look at the lack of investment, the poor show of not investing in the team before the Kairat game and the loss of 40 million Champions League money, things like that, like the kicking out of the full Green Brigade section and kicking out the fan media and all of that kind of stuff. When you put it all down to that, you go, fair enough, they should be held accountable for that as well. The Green Brigade have been held accountable for something that happened to them. The Celtic board, in my opinion, aren't.
Exactly. They need to be, and that's it. No, I agree. And finally, on the boycotting, what I will say is, yes, I'm also conflicted. You've heard me say a million times on this podcast that we are in such a precarious position. We are so fragile and we need the maximum. Now, with that in mind, with regards to boycotts, here's where I'm at. The game tomorrow, I can say that if I was to pick a game, it's the most logical game. It's a cup game. We know we've had our trouble against Dundee before, but at home, with the new signings, with the general form that we've had around Martin and Neill, I think it should be a game that takes care of itself, right? It's a shitey 5:30 kickoff, yada, yada. It's the perfect one to boycott, right? It's the perfect one to do it. I wouldn't want an extended boycott, absolutely not. But if you twisted my arm, I would say at a push tomorrow and the game against Livy. Again, why? Because it's a late kickoff during the week against a shitey team that we should take care of. That's where it ends for me, right? Because I look at the games to follow, I look at the split, I look at the run-in, and I think after that, you just can't, you're dicing with death. You can't have it, right? You need everybody in there, and this team needs support it and roared over the line. And yes, that includes getting the Green Brigade back in and getting a full colour and full noise, 100%, right? But that's where I'm at. 2 games. Now, as I said before, we went down this chat. I'm not going to sit here and talk to you and tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Support Celtic the way you want to do it.
Well, do you know what?
If you've got a ticket, if you've bought a ticket, if you've made travel arrangements, whatever, if you're maybe going to your first game in ages, if you're maybe taking somebody your first game, whatever it may well be, do what is right for you. Me personally on this podcast, Paddy, anybody here, we're not going to sit and chastise folk. We're not going to criticise folk for doing it. And I'm not going to badmouth anybody who decides to go to a game, who decides to go and turn up, decides to support their team. Absolutely not. And as we saw for the collective thing, the letter on there that they've put out is saying the same. If you can, if you want to, please join in because it can send a visual message. Absolutely. But don't feel that you have to do it and it makes you any lesser if you don't want to. That's just where I'm at with it, all right? And I understand folk will say, what's the point? They've already got the money. Aye, they have already got the money. So see if you're comfortable with, if you bought a ticket and you're comfortable with losing out on that money, do it. That's fine. And I'd encourage you to do it if you feel comfortable with it. An empty stadium or a less capacity stadium is a visual effect and it sends a message, but also deprives them of in-match revenue, the programmes, the food, the merchandise, all that kind of stuff. So there is a knock-on effect. As we've seen for the not another penny thing, with all the sales and that, clearly it does have an effect. 1 game, 2 games is going to have a huge effect? No, but it's going to set an example of what could be. Realistically, if you want to talk about boycotts, send a message from a ticketing standpoint. If you really feel passionate about it, and again, I'm not going to tell you to do this, I'm just saying if you feel really passionate about it and you have a season ticket, don't fucking renew.
Yeah. That's not going to happen though, is it, Steve? Because apparently there's 10,000.
But I'm just saying that's the reality. See, in terms of this passive or match-to-match day revenue, it's not going to have huge, massive effects on things. It will have a small, but again, as I say, it's a balancing act. At this point in the season, do I honestly think that you're going to get thousands of fans not turn up between now and the end of the season? Absolutely not. Would I want to see that? Absolutely not, because I think we've learned from poor capacities in history what can happen at Celtic Park and how important fans are to this team. Yeah. So I think that the only other way would be, as if you felt that passionate about it, would be consider, do you want to go and renew? But then that might be cutting your nose off to spite your face. Again, I'm not going to tell somebody to do that. I don't have a season ticket personally myself. I go to as many games as I possibly can, make a good amount each season, spend a lot of money, the club and other avenues. But yeah, people do what makes you comfortable. Support Celtic the way it does it. I'm not going to judge you, and Paddy's not going to judge you if you want to turn up to every game and buy a new shirt and buy a pie every time you're there. Would I do it personally at this moment in time? No, I wouldn't, but that's me. That doesn't mean because that's me, that has to be you. That's important, Paddy.
Yeah, listen, I agree with you to a certain extent, Steve-O. I had sent out a message as well, and I'd said about the boycott, and that's where I'm kind of conflicted in it. I understand why it's happening, but for me, the players need support and need the fans there to do that. I'm quite happy to come out and say, here, guys, I will be there tomorrow. One of my friends got in contact with me and said, listen, Paddy, I've got a spare ticket. My wife and my other son aren't going. Would you like to come? And I said, aye. So I'll be going. I'll be there. I'll probably take a packed lunch so that we don't buy for any of the outside catering departments that are running Celtic Park at the minute. But yeah, I'll maybe even buy a ticket for the Paradise Windfall, Steve. We'll get a good chance of winning it for Sally MD there. Nah, I'm joking about it, guys. Aye, that's it. Imagine there me getting down onto the park, shaking hands with Michael Nicholson for my 12 grand. There you go, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, listen, I understand to an extent. And listen, everybody's not going to agree on this, but for me, listen, tomorrow's an opportunity to see some of the new guys. And if I can do that for a standpoint inside the stadium, then I'm going to go there. I'm going to go there. I'm going to support the team as much as I can. I've said on here about the boycotting of games. I don't agree that is what we should be doing to highlight these things. And I understand what you're saying as well. Steve was saying that this is a perfect game to do it, and the game against Livy is a perfect game to do it because, right, the games that we should be able to deal with. What if we don't? What if the team go there and listen, there's only 20,000 in that stadium, they look about and they can't really get up for it, and we end up getting beat off with Dundee, and then we get beat off with Livy, and then before you know it, you're fucking sitting 9 points behind in the league, you're out of the Scottish Cup, and you're sitting with shit in your face, basically. Do you know what I mean? You're sitting there going, right, what's happened there? And for me, I think the team should be backed on the park. We should be there to support the team inside the stadium. What I suggested is that we meet up outside the stadium before the game or after the game as social media influencers or whatever you want to call us. Get there before the game or after the game and get every single social media outlet together and go live together. Even get the press involved. Get everybody there. Make our voices heard. Call Nicholson out. Call out Wilson. Call them all out. Just sit there and say, basically, listen, this is what our demands are. This is what we're asking for. There's no communication for you guys whatsoever. Come and talk to us. Do you know what I mean? We're here. We've got a backing. We've got support. We've got people along with us. Let's see what you've got. Let's see how big your balls are. And listen, I bet you right now, the Celtic board would be nowhere to be seen, mate. They would be sitting there probably looking out the window taking photos again. And that for me is where we're at with, mate. But I will support the team. The boycotting thing, I don't 100% agree with to an extent.
Yeah, no, I just to close up on that, as I say, it's like it's maybe went a wee bit longer than we'd normally talk about it. But yeah, it's hard to, there's no hard and fast answer to this, is what I'm getting at. Whether it's the order of which the club engage with the various groups, whether it's how we get from A to B to C to D in terms of what the collective fans want. We include that, as I say. I absolutely want to see the fans back in. Again, if the fan we did get back in, cool, I'd let them back in. Yeah, and again, of course, get Nicholson in the bin, 100%. And as I say, the boycotts, Paddy and I, there you go, different takes on it. I don't want to see it long term, but I think that there's two games that are the ideal opportunity to do it. Just to send an initial message and visualise what could be. It's more a threat, what could be. Because they might say, well, what's the point of doing it one game and 2 games and then come all back in and force in the 3rd game? Oh, I don't understand that point. But it's to show that, look, when we put our mind to it, we can do that. That's what we can do. Just always have that at the back of your mind, because that could become the start of next season. You're trying to sell us tickets. That could be this, it could be that. And it plants a seed that will fucking done it. So who's to say they won't do it again? And that's the action that will speak loudest. And I think maybe hopefully plant a seed, and hopefully steer this board into doing what needs to be done. But yeah, that's what I'm at with that, Paddy, as I say, and it is important. Again, that will always be our message here. We're not here to tell people what to do. And I wouldn't ever dream of sitting here and trying to preach to you. You might think, oh, you sort of spoke for ages. But no, not preaching. We're having a conversation with you. You maybe agree with what we've said, maybe you don't. But we'll respect whatever your view on that is. If and I'd likewise say respect goes two ways. You might not necessarily agree with what Paddy or I have said individually, and if you don't, that's fine. Leave us a comment. Let's be adult and respectful about it. And I think that's what I want to see, and that's the message as well from the collective. If you can do it, if you feel happy to do it, please join in. But if you don't, cool. No judgment. And hopefully anybody that is at the stadium, because I imagine there might still be, I don't know if I heard anything, there might be some sort of protest outside perhaps or something. If that does happen and you see people get in, don't give them a hard time. They're going to support their team.
Exactly. And we spoke about that before, Steve, when this first came about with the boycotts and stuff like that. And it was basically, if people are going to go in there and they are going to support the team, then let them do that. Don't be giving it the cold snake mentality. So, yeah, listen, people are going to support the team whether certain fan groups tell them not to or whether we tell them not to. Do you know what I mean? People are going to go there and people are going to support the team. So you're never really going to change that. But let's go on here. What's the thoughts?
So, exactly. Let's pick up for the last 10, 15 minutes, a wee bit of energy there. Yeah, so game against Dundee, mate. Cup game, stinking 5:30 kick-off time. One of the ones. But as I say, look, it should be a game that's going to take care of itself. Undoubtedly, listen, the numbers inside the stadium could make it a slightly more tough affair, as we well know, but we've brought in some players. We do have some quality. We've got guys that can sit there and play, and we've got Araujo coming in, we've got Quinchara, and we might even see some of these new boys. So there is reason to be optimistic and be positive about it. I'd like to see us go out there, give a strong impression, give a good, morale boosting win, maybe a couple of goals under our belt, tease up for that midweek game, and then obviously the subsequent games that are come out the back here. I'd like to see maybe a couple of changes. I'd actually like to. I think Quinchara, having played, you need to keep him in there. Be nice to see Adamu see him at some point, and I don't think if he's fit and ready to go, Joe Mufka, maybe get him in there and see what he's got. Actually, it was Data Boys put out 2 videos, and it showed the shooting and finishing Adamu and the crossing Mufka, right? And a mixed bag, to say the least. I thought that, much to my surprise, Mufka looked a lot better than his numbers tell you, again, which proves that stats don't mean a lot. And maybe, hopefully, it's down to the fact that he's maybe playing alongside Muck. Because, all right, there were some wild ones in there, but there was a lot of decent crosses into the right position, and it was just strikers not taking up the chances or just nobody in the box, but like genuinely good deliveries and stuff. So that made me feel a wee bit optimistic. He looked, for that, again, it's a highlight reel. I could make you look amazing, Paddy, on YouTube. But from that wee video, was about 4 minutes worth of footage. He did look like what he said in that interview, the generic stuff. I like to get the ball, I like to carry, I like to try and run to the byline. He was doing that. Just nobody there on the end there. In terms of Adamu, a couple of nice goals in there, but I certainly hope he's got shooting boots on, because there was too many that were into the ceiling, the stadium, mate.
I seen it. I watched that as well, Steve. There was a few SIBO efforts, we'll call them, weren't there? Van Vossen, digs in there. There was a few crackers. Listen, you're hoping these guys hit the ground running. You're hoping they come in and put in a performance. Going into a kind of depleted Celtic Park is going to be a wee bit different to probably what they've been told. But yeah, we hope these guys can go in there and kick on. Like you said, Chavanchara, he looks, for me, a player that's hungry, a player that's got a wee point to prove here, somebody that's had a bit of a rough time of it, and he's come in here and he's getting a bit of support. He's getting the right things said to him, and he's doing what he has to do. He's got an assist already, and his goal was brilliant. He took his header very, very well. Paul going in there with a 5-0, brilliant, Paul. That's kind of up there with my predictions.
Kind of positivity we need.
Exactly, and that's it. Even Alan Devine in there, mate, saying 4-1 to the boys. Listen, we'll take it. I'd take a shitey 1-0 off of Stephen Presley's arse if it came to it. Do you know what I mean? But I'm just hoping for a positive result. I think we will go out there, and I think we will demolish them. I think they'll try and hold off and hold us in for the first kind of half hour, 40 minutes. But I think we've got what it'll take to break them down. I think there'll be a few new players in there wanting to do the damage, Steve. So I agree with a few of these. I think there will be a lot of goals. But like Kutcher there, I'll stick in my old 4-0. That's kind of where I'm sitting at with it. I'm all tried and tested. I'll go for my 4-0 and venture to open the scoring.
Well, we'll see what goes down. I said I'm confident I'll win. Again, we've spoken. We're not going to mention it again. Interesting to see what the actual turnout looks like.
Yeah.
And then we'll obviously hear some more information off the back of that. I'm sure there'll be more statements and stuff. And hopefully, if the boycott is of a size that's significant and really noteworthy, that it does have an effect, and we do get these conversations that are had. It would be nice to, I think, having the GB back in for Livy seems a bit optimistic, to say the least, but it would be nice to see whatever goes down tomorrow. It gives them the rest of that day, it gives them Sunday to chew over it, and come Monday, we're starting to hear some positive conversations. The fan groups are going to speak to them. The fan supporters, the ultras groups are going to sit and talk to them, and we can start to push forward for those big games, particularly looking at the game against Stuttgart. Huge. Let's try, and that should be the aim. That should be the point where we go, see with that game there, we'll have came to some sort of middle ground that's going to help us negotiate to the end of the season, moving forward, and then we revisit it.
You get the GB and stuff reinstated for a game like that, Steve, and let them do a tifo, let them do what they do best. Let them bring the noise to Celtic Park.
Let them do a tifo. You're going to trust them. You're going to trust them.
I know. A big, massive Michael Nicholson.
Massive Michael Nicholson with a no sign over him.
Aye. Hanging for the rafters or something. It'd be something like that. When there'll be something absolutely crazy.
It'd be so crazy that would just
but yeah, I think that would be a good shout to get them back reinstated for something like that, Steve. I think that would kind of galvanise the fan base and bring the noise back, because listen, it has been missing. Let's be honest, we're not beat about the bush. Do you know what I mean? The noise has been missing for Celtic Park, and you need certain groups and certain people in there to bring that noise back in.
Yeah, no, I hope that this can. I really, really do hope that this can sort itself out. And in a civilized and adult way, we've said a million times, we don't want to see anything boil over. We don't want to see anything unsavoury. We don't want to see anything that's going to reflect poorly on the fans, the fans groups, the supporters, the ultras groups. We don't want to see anything that reflects poorly on the club, the fans, anything like that. We don't want it to go into unsavoury territory. We don't want it to get messy. It has been messy at points. Let's hope that this is something. And again, the club are coming out. Wilson's coming out. He's talking a good talk. Back it up with some actions and make it happen. That's all we're asking for. It's not. It really isn't a lot to ask to try and patch up differences for the greater good, which is ultimately backing this team and getting it over the line, mate. That's all that really should matter here, mate.
100%, mate. That's it. Just get out there, start winning games, and let's push on. It's time, innit? It's time to actually go for it. So
it is time. There we go. But anyway, listen, thanks for joining us. We know that it's a bit of a long one, about an hour and a half. Thanks very much to everybody that has been joining us today. Make sure, if you've not done it, hit the subscribe, give it a wee thumbs up. As we say, games there tomorrow. However you choose to watch it, try and enjoy it. So, yes, if you're going to the game, you might see Paddy. If you're not going to the game, brilliant. So, there we go. That's it. We'll get there in the end, Paddy. I'm sure we will. And we'll be in the cup. We'll get a draw. Maybe we'll get Rangers or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Don't care boys what we boycotting that one.
well, I was going to say, will they boycott that? I doubt it.
That's it, exactly. And there's another thing as well. People turn and say, I've seen a lot of rat talk because I've just benched it. There was a couple of rats running about the stands and Ibrox. Mice. Remember, it could do with the Parkhead Fox to come and deal with that vermin issue, perhaps there. But and I'm sure the joke will be made. There's rats at Celtic Park as well, metaphorically speaking, and all that kind of stuff. There we go. But
there's one in the boardroom, definitely.
So, there we go. But we'll take care of it. So, yep. Thanks very much for joining us. What'll be tomorrow, as we say, is get behind the team. However you choose to do that tomorrow, and hopefully at the end of it, we're sitting here, we're in the draw, and we're talking about something positive, and all these things that we spoke about will start to fall into place. We'll get the chat around, people, bit of normality will resume, but at the end of the day, it will be short term, because until serious and meaningful change is made at board level, this isn't going to go away. The calls for change at board level to get these people off, it's not going to go away, Paddy.
Yeah.
But they can at least meet in a sort of middle ground for the time being. So thanks for joining us, Paddy. You enjoy that game tomorrow. You go to it. Just don't buy anything when you're in there. No pies, right? No pies.
I'll take the one pack lunch, mate.
No Bovril. Get some chips outside and enjoy it. And you can
definitely
tell us firsthand what it was like after the event, mate.
Definitely.
So take care of yourselves, and Paddy,
as always, guys, hail, hail.